The state of Missouri says it was an overdose, but another medical expert tells a whole other story.
A death behind bars has a St. Louis County family just wanting the truth. Deilo Rogers died earlier this year at the Farmington Correctional Facility. It's a minimum to medium security facility about an hour south of the city. His family turned to News 4 when the second autopsy spurred suspicion. Tonight, News 4's Jenna Ray investigates, and we do want to warn you, some details are graphic.
Growing up, he was always a fun, outgoing child of mine. Very energetic, the life of the party. He was just so ready and anxious to come home and see his family. He's missed so much.
North County native Deilo Rogers pled guilty to robbery, kidnapping, and armed criminal action charges in 2012. He served nearly all of his 9-year sentence in Missouri correctional facilities. In June, Deilo was transferred here, the Farmington Correctional Center.
It was closer to home for his release date of August 3rd.
Just 5 days after arriving on Sunday, June 6th.
My daughter had last talked to him about 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m. that day. Everything was okay. He was going to call her back after he eat dinner. They ended up calling us back several hours, about 9 o'clock, I guess, that night, and stated that they pronounced him dead.
At first, Parker says Farmington prison staff wouldn't tell her how her son died or where his body was located. She finally tracked his body to the St. Francis County morgue on June 12th, where an autopsy was being done. She saw her son for the first time, June 15th.
After seeing him, I knew something wasn't right. He was bruised.
At that point, Parker says the Missouri Department of Corrections still hadn't told her exactly how her son died.
I was suspicious they wouldn't answer any of my questions.
So Parker turned to local doctor and medical expert Stephen Godfrey.
I performed or assisted at over 1,000 autopsies.
Godfrey performed a second autopsy 4 days after Deilo's death.
Was this an appropriate time span to get what you perceive as an accurate autopsy result?
Yes.
Godfrey's autopsy shows Deilo's immediate cause of death was asphyxia from aspiration of gastric emesis. In plain terms, he suffocated on his own vomit. What led to suffocation, Godfrey says, were Deilo's injuries to his face, which point to assault.
That is supported by both autopsies, although I think I have made more of it at its significance in my report than did the original autopsy, which seemed to dismiss it without much concern.
The original autopsy, performed for the state by a pathologist in Farmington, lists Deilo's death as an acute fentanyl intoxication or a drug overdose as classified by the CDC.
I just haven't known him to ever do drugs. He was so strong.
We asked DOC how Deilo could have possibly gotten a hold of fentanyl after only being at the facility for 5 days. In a statement sent to News 4, a DOC spokesperson says in some cases, contraband is sent in the mail or given to inmates in person in the glue of envelopes, behind stamps, or soaked into the paper itself. But the spokesperson had no answer for us on how Deilo obtained the fentanyl.
He had just gotten there, so we weren't able to visit him. And again, due to the COVID, he didn't have any visitors. He didn't receive any letters as well because, like I said, he had just gotten there.
Toxicology data inside the state's report shows the average dose of fentanyl that would cause a person to lose consciousness is 7 times more than the amount found in Deilo's bloodstream. The state's report does list Deilo's bruised eyes and lacerations on his face. However, Dr. Godfrey says their report is missing something important.
It had not included opening of the upper respiratory tract, and therefore did not discover that this individual had aspirated a significant amount of his most recent meal.
Is it typical procedure to open the larynx and the trachea and the upper respiratory system?
It should be part of a complete autopsy in each and every instance, in my opinion.
News 4 requested several documents from DOC, including Deilo's death certificate, incident report, phone calls made prior to his death, and video footage before and of his death. DOC denied the request and denied a request for an interview. DOC did confirm all deaths that happen inside their facilities are investigated internally and, if appropriate, by local law enforcement. We went to the St. Francis County Sheriff's Department to find out if they were called after Deilo's death. They had no record of an incident involving Deilo.
What do you think happened that night?
I think he was murdered. And they're covering it up.
Nearly 5 months since Deilo died,
I haven't gotten an answer. I have 2 different autopsy reports, and I want to know exactly what happened. It may not be detailed of how it really happened, but I'll feel a little bit better knowing what happened actually, instead of it being a drug overdose and just letting it go. I can't. I want justice, and I want it now.
Wanda Parker has continued calling and asking the Department of Corrections for answers. Exhausted, she's now hiring an attorney. Tonight, that attorney tells me he's going to find out exactly how Deilo Rogers died. It's a story we'll continue to follow. In the studio, Jenna Ray, News 4.